I used to think the worst moments in life were loud, the kind you see coming from a mile away. Screaming doors slamming some dramatic line that echoes forever. Turns out, the real breaking points are quiet. Mine happened on a sidewalk in the rain with my coat soaked through my shoes, ruined, and my husband already halfway into his car like I was just another problem he'd finally decided to drop. I was 7 months pregnant. Standing there with one hand on my stomach, the other holding a phone he'd stopped answering. He didn't yell, he didn't argue. He just said, "I can't do this anymore. I need something different." Then he drove off. No speech, no apology, just rain filling in the silence. Yeah, that happened. 20 minutes later, I was standing in a mansion I'd never liked marble floors so polished they reflected the chandelier above like a spotlight. My cheek was still burning from the slap my mother-in-law had just given me, and the word she'd used kept looping in my head. Beggar. She'd said it like it was a diagnosis, not an insult. Like she was simply stating a fact about my place in the world. People were watching. Relatives, family, friends, strangers who suddenly found the situation very interesting. You know that feeling when everyone pretends not to stare, but you can feel their eyes anyway. That was me. Pregnant, alone, labeled, and for a second I almost believed them. 3 months earlier, I'd been sitting in a glass conference room downtown under a name no one connected to me reviewing a loan application. My husband's loan application. $40 million. Emergency funding. Last chance. The kind of paperwork that smells like desperation even before you read the numbers. I approved it. Not because I loved him. Not because I believed in his genius, but because I needed to know something. I needed to know what kind of man he really was when the stakes were real. Because when you've been underestimated your whole life, you learn to test people quietly. Back in that foyer, my mother-in-law was still talking her voice sharp and controlled the way people sound when they're convinced they're right. She asked me what kind of woman shows up alone to a family event. I told her the truth. Her son had left me for another woman. That's when her hand connected with my face. Not hard enough to knock me down, just hard enough to remind me who she thought had power. In her world, being abandoned meant you deserved it. Being left meant you had failed as a woman. While my cheek burned, my mind went somewhere else. 7 years earlier. A restaurant overseas. A ring. A man telling me his business was struggling, that he just needed time connection support. I married him without asking for anything in return. No contracts, no safety net, just trust. I thought that made me strong back then. Turns out, it just made me convenient. What he never knew was that I spent our entire marriage quietly supporting him. Anonymous investments. Silent partnerships. Every time one of his ventures survived, he took credit. Every time it failed, I cleaned it up without him ever seeing my hands in the mess. I stayed invisible on purpose, waiting to see if he'd ever value me without the spotlight. Standing there in that house, I realized I'd been preparing for this moment longer than I thought. Then the front doors opened. He walked in with her. Perfect timing. She was dressed like she knew she was being seen, hand on his arm like a claim. He looked shocked to see me, not concerned. Shocked, like I'd broken an unspoken rule by existing where I wasn't expected to. He tried to sound warm. "I didn't think you'd come." I smiled, just slightly. After you left me in the rain, the room went quiet. The kind of quiet that feels heavy, like everyone's holding their breath at once. I asked him if he knew his mother had just hit me. He glanced at my cheek, hesitated, and then did nothing. That told me everything I still needed to know. So I said it, calmly, clearly. "I approved your loan." He froze. His eyes narrowed, running through possibilities. Loan approvals are confidential. He knew that. "That's not funny," he said. "You don't work." I reached behind me and let the folder fall onto the floor. Paper slid across marble. His signature visible. My signature visible. Not my real name, but the one that mattered. "I don't work there," I said. "I own it." You could feel the shift, like gravity changed direction. His mother's confidence cracked first. The other woman laughed nervous, saying he told her I came from nothing, that he'd rescued me. From what I asked. From poverty. From a man who's failed more times than he's succeeded. I told them about my grandfather. About the money he hid before the rest of the family burned everything down. About the trust I'd grown quietly while playing the role everyone expected of me. About how $40 million meant nothing to me, but the clause attached to it meant everything. The loan had conditions, moral ones. Abandonment counted as a violation. Consequences were automatic. My husband looked at me like I was a stranger. "You set me up," he said. "No," I answered. "I gave you a choice. You just made it." That's the thing people hate the most. Not punishment, clarity. His mother suddenly wanted privacy, wanted to talk things through. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was familiar. "So now it's a family matter?" I asked. "After you hit me in front of everyone," I told him what he'd said that night in the rain. How he called me maintenance, like an appliance, like a responsibility. The words landed harder than anything else I'd said, because they were true, and everyone could hear them. I gave him one option: fight me publicly and lose everything, or accept accountability and try to rebuild himself without my protection. No reconciliation, no shortcuts, just work, therapy, humility, time. The room stayed silent. Months later, sunlight filled my office. A photo of my daughter sat on my desk. Another photo showed her father standing across from her crib. Not together with me, just present. We didn't get back together. We didn't pretend everything was fine. We chose something harder: honesty. He changed slowly, not dramatically, not like a movie, but he showed up. That mattered more. The assets I took from him I turned into something useful: housing, stability. A reminder that failure can still build something if you stop running from it. People eventually found out who I was. The headlines missed the point. The money was never the victory. Being underestimated was the advantage. So here's my question for you. If you were in my place, would you have destroyed him completely? Or would you have given him the same choice? Tell me what you think in the comments. I want to hear it.